Shalom, shalom, Israel. Line of Judah back with another lesson for Israel. I'd like to say shalom to all the Akims who sincere in this truth, waking up the house of Israel, keeping the commandments, building one another through the Spirit, faithfully waiting on the second coming of Yahweh Shai, especially the men of Israel out on these highways and byways, putting your life on the line for this truth and pushing this truth for the elect's sake. Shalom. Also, I'd like to say a shalom to the Aquas out there who holding down the household, teaching the children, loving their Lord and husband, being shamefaced and keeping the commandments. Shalom, shalom. Now, today's topic is Jacob, Judah in the Bible, right? Jacob is the 12 tribes of Israel, and Judah, as you can see on this screen here, would be the so-called American blacks. And you have the tribe of Benjamin, the so-called West Indies, the tribe of Levi, who are the Haitians, the tribe of Ephraim, who are the Puerto Ricans, the tribe of Manasseh, who are the so-called Cubans, the tribe of Simeon, who are the so-called Dominicans, the tribe of Zebulun, who are the so-called Guatemala to Panama, the ancient Mayans, so the tribe of Gad, so-called Native Americans and American Indians, the tribe of Reuben, so-called Seminole Indians, got the tribe of Asher, Issachar, Naphtali, from the tribe of who so-called Colombians, Mexicans, and Argentinians. And you can see there in Isaiah 11:11, it said they are scattered throughout Africa and abroad, right? So today's topic is Judah in the Bible. You so-called black man, American black, African American, Negro, you in the Bible. But before we get to some precepts that clearly states who you are and the lie that you've been told by this wicked nation they call America, which is Babylon the Great, the land of confusion, I want to read a couple of precepts to show who the Lord is only dealing with. He's only dealing with the 12 tribes of Israel, which you can see can be written like the 12 sons of Jacob. And I'm going to go and show you our forefathers right here, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? And you can see he had the Ishmael with the slave woman Hagar, and you can see our brother Esau, who's on that middle branch fading away, right? But the descendants of the 12 patriarchs at the end, you see Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? And we're going to start off with the book of Deuteronomy. Chapter 28 and verse 7. 28 and verse 7. And it reads, Salaki Israel. Chapter 28 and verse 7. And it reads, Salaki Israel. Salaki Israel. Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6. Salaki Israel. Deuteronomy chapter 7 verse 6. For thou art a holy people. And holy means separate, right? For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of this earth. Right? So all these people here, right? All these people here are a special people. You so-called blacks, West Indies, Haitians, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Dominicans, Guatemalans to Panama, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, Colombians, so-called Mexicans and Argentinians. You are a special people to the Lord, right? Above all people down upon the face of the earth, right? The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you because you were more in numbers than any people, for ye were the least, Salaki, for ye were the fewest of all people. But because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he has sworn to your fathers, right? He sworn to Abraham And he sworn to Isaac, right? Had the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed you out the house of bondmen from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Right? So the Lord loved us because he promised our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Right? Let's go to Deuteronomy 32 and 9. Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 9. For the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. Right? There you go again. As you can see, the blessing come through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Right? Let's go to the book of Amos. Right? Let's go to the book of Amos. I think starting with the 3rd chapter. Salakia Israel. Book of Amos. 3rd chapter. And we're going to start with verse 1. Right? Hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel. Right now, Jacob's name will change to Israel in the 35th chapter of Genesis when he wrestled with the angel, roughly paraphrasing, said your name is no longer Jacob. Salakia Israel. He said your name is no longer Jacob, your name is Israel. Right? So let's continue. O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up out the land of Egypt. We just read that in Deuteronomy 32, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities. Right? The Lord is punishing us using these other nations, right, to punish us. Because let's just say, Israel, if you had a child and the school called and said your child was acting up, along with 5 other students, and they all got suspended from school. We need you to come up here, right? So when you get to the school, who are you going to see specifically, right? You're going to see your son, right? Even though the other children are acting up as well, you come to see your son specifically. And that's what the Lord is punishing us. That's why the so-called white man got his $10 million in his bank account, living in these high rises and these nice homes in the north side of the city, in every city and state here in America. Because he's not dealing with them, right? He's only punishing us. The Lord chastises who he loves, right? Let's go to Psalms. Let's go to Psalms 147 and 19. The book of Psalms, chapter 147 and 19. This just continues to show who the Lord is dealing with. He's only dealing with us, the nation of Israel. Chapter 147 and 19. And it reads, he showed his word unto Jacob. He showed his word unto Jacob, right? His statute and his judgment unto Israel. He had not dealt so with any nation. And as far as his judgments, they had not known them. Praise ye the Lord. So these other nations, they just living off the fatness of America. All these nations are drunk and in love with America, right? But as it prophesies in the book of Isaiah, all these other nations, China, Russia, Japan, India, all these other nations soon is going to be weeping for this sinful nation once the Lord come destroy this place in 1 hour, right? Let's keep going. Let's go to the classic, right? Let's go to the classic in the Apocrypha. Let's go to 2nd Esdras 6 and 54, right? Well, a lot of brothers like to call the shotgun, right? Let's go to the shotgun, right? This is 2nd Esdras 6 and 54. After these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. And we just read in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6, that he chose us, right? Not that we was more in numbers, because he loved us, and he promised our forefathers right here, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? and the people also who thou hast chosen. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sake. As for the other people, which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be unto like spittle, and hast likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. And now, O Lord, behold, these heathens, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to lord over us, and to devour us. But we thy people, whom thou hast called by their firstborn, thy only begotten, and the fervent lover, are given into their hands. If the world now be made for our sake, why do we not possess the inheritance with the world? How long should I endure? And that just goes back to our forefathers not listening to the word, not hearkening. Because in Deuteronomy 15, it said if we didn't listen to the word, the law, statutes, and commandments, then we will be under curses. So we know that our people to this day, we still fit the curses. Cursed in the city. How does so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian living in the cities? Right? Like in one of my previous videos, you can't even find the Native Americans anymore. Some of my other tribe brothers and sisters have been decimated by these devils. Right? So that just goes to further show you in the Bible, so-called Israel, so-called Judah, in the Bible. Now we're going to get to some scriptures, some more precepts. Let's start with Jeremiah, right? 17:4. And this is sort of milk, right? And myself, I like to also drink some milk every now and then. You know, I'm getting to the meat, right? You know, by the grace of the Most High, I came into this truth or found knowledge of myself because I always felt that I was you've always been an Israelite, because, you know, for my story, I never celebrated these pagan holidays. My family used to get on me, talking about you never come home for Thanksgiving and Christmas and our birthdays, right? I never ate any unclean foods. I had never eaten crab or lobster, right? Shellfish, crayfish. I did eat once before catfish. I didn't like it. And I eaten shrimp on a handful of occasions. But every time I eat that food, you know, my stomach would start hurting. I would feel really awkward after eating that food. Right? I could grow my beard at 11 years old, 12 years old. And I used to cut my beard. I worked 20 years in sort of law enforcement and private security. From 1999 until the end of 2018, 2019, when I came into this truth and started growing my beard. And I always wondered why, you know, I always have this star crunch neck, all these bumps around my face and neck area. And that's the consequence of cutting your beard. Because the Lord tells us, I think in the, if I'm not mistaken, Leviticus chapter 11 and 27th verse, right? You can't mow your beard. You can't cut your beard, right? Those are laws that the Most High give us, right? How can you tell a female lion and a male lion in the jungle, right? By their mane. You know, the male lion has the mane, right? So I always knew I was Israel. Never went to these pagan churches, right? I never went to these churches when I was younger, right? Never celebrated these pagan holidays, right? So the Lord was just preparing me for the day that I found out who I truly was. Because I've been lied to, calling me black, African American, Negro, right? Knowing those are just bywords that the Lord said would be placed upon us for not hearkening to the word, right? So let's go to Jeremiah 17, Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 4, Israel. Jeremiah 17 and 4. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thy heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thy enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. Now we know that, you know, it's not going to be forever, right? Because we're waking up. The real Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latino, Native Americans, we're waking up to the truth. We're trying to get out of here, right? We prophesied against this sinful kingdom every day once waking up to the truth. Right? Let's keep going. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 8 and verse 2. Salakia. 1 Corinthians 8 and 2. And if any man think that he knoweth anything, he knoweth nothing, yet as he ought to know. But if any man love the Most High, the same is known of him. Right? So we don't know nothing. Before coming into this truth, we didn't know nothing. Right? I still have brothers right now that's still in the world. You know, they may say they're not bad, but, you know, according to, I think Matthew's, the 19th chapter, right, there is no one good. And it said, if you want to enter the kingdom, keep the commandments, paraphrasing, right? So we didn't know nothing before coming into the truth. We thought we did. We thought by doing righteous acts and gaining and worldly gain with godliness, building your bank account up, right? We thought that was godliness. Buying a house, the biggest house on the block, trying to drive the fastest and fanciest car, right? We think this is godliness, but we didn't know nothing, right? And that was because of Hosea. We can go to the book of Hosea, chapter, the classic, Hosea 4 and 6. Salakia Israel. Let me grab my other sword. Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. And it reads, Salakia Israel 396. Gotta be sharp with your sword. Gotta be sharp with your sword, Israel. Let's go to Hosea 4 and verse 6. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten of the Salaki, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children. Right? And most of us, before coming to truth, we were lost. And a lot of our people, especially the northern kingdom, who went off, who were taken to slavery and captivity in 722 BC. Right? That's over 750 years before the birth of Christ, who was born in 6 BC. Right? And when he came back, he said he's only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Matthew 15 and 24. Because as you can see, from the Puerto Ricans on down to the Argentinians, right? These people were lost 750 years before Christ came back. The top 3 tribes, the southern kingdom, we went off in 65 to 70 AD when we fled Jerusalem from the Roman persecution, right? And we fled into Africa. Over 1 million Jews fled into Africa. And if there was a great slaughter in Jerusalem and we still managed to flee over 1 million out, you can just imagine how many of our people was killed by these damn devils, these so-called modern day damn Romans and these modern day Grecians. And now they Americans. They got the same symbol, which is that damn eagle that like to fly highest, right? You can't train an eagle. An eagle is stubborn. Right? Let's continue. Right? Let's go to Isaiah. Let's start with the 3rd chapter, Isaiah 3. Right? Because this just further shows that we didn't know we were Israel. Right? We have to come back, find ourselves. Right? Bethink ourselves in the land of our captivity. I think that's in 2 Kings. Right? This is Isaiah, the 3rd chapter. Isaiah 1 and 3. Salakia, Israel. And it reads, the ox knows his owner, and the ass, which is a donkey, right? 2 dumb animals. The ox knows his owner, and the donkey his master's crib. But Israel don't consider. Salaki, but Israel don't know. My people do not consider. He used words like my and thy. These are possessive pronouns, meaning he ain't dealing with these other people, right? He ain't dealing with these other nations, right? And the further to top the cake about the Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, right? We're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, and we're going to read 15 first, right? 28 and 15. Let's start with 28 and 15. But it shall come to pass, meaning that it will happen, right? If thou wilt not hearken mean listen, unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So we are cursed people, right? And I'm going to go to 46 just to see what the sign was. And this is the sign. And they shall be upon thee for a sign. Deuteronomy 28 and 46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder and upon thy seed forever. So the children of God fit these curses to this day. What is it? October 5th, 2020, right? And our people still fit these curses. Now let's read some of the curses, right? Curse shall that be in the city, and curse shall that be in the field. Now, if you look around America, all these states, cities, how do our people, as overall, you may have a handful of so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans that's really enjoying this filthy kingdom, and they really making a great living for themselves. But majority of our people are at the bottom. You go to the south side of every city and state, you're going to find some dilapidated neighborhoods, some rundown, overgrown buildings that need turned down and rebuilt. You're going to see abandoned warehouses. You're going to see abandoned houses. You're going to see crack houses and dope houses. You're going to see our people all in the street at noonday, groping, lost, right? And these are majority of the cities. Over 80% of these cities and states, right? So we cursed in the city and cursed in the field, right? Continue. 17. Curse shall that basket and thy store. I can remember Negro Wall Street, so-called Negro Wall Street. There was even one here in Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina, where I reside. And what these devils do is they build a highway or a train system that goes directly through these neighborhoods, decimating that property, forcing them to sell, the property. Or, if you don't sell it, they just come and raise the taxes. And then you can't afford the taxes. And then they just buy for pennies on a dollar. And this happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? They had Negro Wall Street where we own a lot of things. But what did the Lord say? Curse shall be thy basket and thy stores. Meaning we ain't going to own nothing. We may think for a short period of time that we're doing good, but at the end, we're not going to own anything. Right? Let's read, let's go to 54. So that the man, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 54. So that the man is tender among you and very delicate, his eye should be evil toward his brother, and towards the wife of his bosom, and towards the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Now, what they say the so-called black man is known for, leaving his children, right? His eye being evil towards his brother, black on black crime. But we get all this evil from watching Esau's movies, watching how Esau manipulates and brainwashes the masses of our people through these jail systems. Giving a gift. Ecclesiastes says, a wise man hate oppression, right? And a gift destroys the heart. Paraphrasing, right? Giving you Section 8 and food stamps now. Now you have woman who's 18. The man left the house. She have 3 kids. She can't afford rent. what she do? She get on Section 8, welfare, and then a gift destroys the heart. And she stays on that till she's 29. Now she's 39. Now this same woman has grew up in this system 20 years and don't know the value of a dollar. Never got out and really built nothing. Now she's pretty much governmentalized. She's dependent on the government, right? And let's go to 56. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not avenge to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eyes should be even towards her husband of her bosom, and towards her son, and towards her daughters. Right? So the same curses fit our women. That's why we have to be patient with our so-called Black and Latino, Native American, Seminole Indian women. We have to be patient with them. Because they're under curses as well. Right? So they're going through the same things that we're going through. That's why I say, I think in the books of Proverbs, blessed he finds a wife. And you can mold her, and you can definitely, the man can be the man of the house, right? And get this thing back in order, because it's all out of order. They have taken the man out of the house through these government programs in 1965, where they would give the woman assistance, but there could be no man living in the house. That was the second and third attempt of breaking up the families. They give you a little help, but there can be no man in the house, right? And let's go to the classic. Well, let's go to the classic, and then we're going to go back to 48 to bring this thing home, right? This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again, right? Now, when we left Egypt the first time, we walked out of Egypt with Moses, and we crossed the Red Sea, right? But the Lord said he'll bring us back into Egypt. Egypt just means bondage or slavery, according to Exodus 20 and 2. It just means bondage or slavery. So the Lord said he's going to bring us back into Egypt again, right? But how are we going to get there? Because, the first time we walked out of Egypt, right? Let's see. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt not see it any more again. And there you should be sold, right? Because we never seen our homeland Jerusalem again. Our forefathers, our foremothers, even our great-great-grandmothers and great-grandmothers and grandmothers and great-great-grandfather, great-grandfather and grandfather, they never talk about Jerusalem. That goes back to Jeremiah 17 and 4. We'll be discontinued from our heritage. Right? Wherever I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there you should be sold. We all can, the stories of the so-called transatlantic slave trade that we learned in school. Right? They have so watered that down in today's layman terms. They don't even teach that in the schools. But when I grew up, in the school system in the late 80s and 90s, right? They taught this, that the slaves came over, right? Thou shalt see it no more again, and they shall be sold unto your enemies. So when we got out those ships, the Lord said we were sold, not to just so-called white people, so-called Caucasian people, but they biblical nationalities, Edomites. So we were sold to these Edomites, so-called whites. But what did the Lord call them? And there you should be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwoman, that's slave man and slave woman, and no man shall buy you. Buy in the Hebrew mean redeem. No one's going to redeem us out of this situation until we turn back to these laws, statutes, and commandments. Right? And let's go back to 48. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 48. This is further showing who are you, so-called black man. But you're not black. We know you're a mighty king from the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi from the southern kingdom, right? They're just further showing who you are in the Bible because you've been lied to, right? Let's read 48. Therefore, thou shalt serve thy enemy, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger, right? In thirst and in nakedness. So when we hungry, we have to go to their stores. We don't own anything that produce it from the fields or the manufacturing plants of the animals, from the slaughterhouse to the reproduction of these vegetables, sent to the grocery stores, packaged for sales. No, we don't own any of these things. These things are owned by Esau. And in thirst, right? The Lord give us water free. These devils turn around and tax you. Not only tax you, but they make you pay for the water. And in some instances, the water bill is higher than some of your other bills. And even to the day right now, October 5th, 2020, in Flint, Michigan, there are several residents who don't even have water. In the richest nation on this planet, there is some people in this country who don't have water. And I used to live further east of North Carolina, right? When my family moved down here from the city, my grandmother had a father who lived eastern. Some of the eastern parts of North Carolina are some of the roughest parts in the states, where these people don't have access to running water or free electricity running to their house. They have things like wells, which is a great water source, but it can be inconvenient sometimes, like the wintertime when it's so cold, and electricity where you have to have a wood stove fire, right? And these are some of the conditions that I grew up in, right? And in nakedness, like we had to go to all day stores. We had to go to the malls, the outlets, the Rosses, these Marshalls, right? To get our clothing. The Burlington Coat Factory they have here in North Carolina. We have to go to these places to get our clothing because we don't own anything, right? And in one of all things, that sums it up. In one of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he hath destroyed thee. Now, during slavery, we literally had you can see that top picture where the guy said $1,200, right? Look at his back, right? That is the worst right there. But the Lord said, until he had destroyed thee. Slavery destroyed our people. They took away our Hebrew tongue, the Lashawan Kodash, for 200 plus years. And when they allowed us to read again, they gave us the Holy Bible in their terms, and they gave us their language, English, because we didn't speak this. We didn't speak no English, right? We spoke Hebrew, right? Until he hath destroyed thee, the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far from the end of the earth, as swift as an eagle flieth. Now that's the same symbol as the Grecians, the Romans, and now America, that eagle, right? That's a national symbol. As swift as an eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, because we spoke Hebrew, we didn't speak English. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the persons of old, nor shew favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruits of thy cattle and the fruits of the land until thou be destroyed, which also shall leave neither corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kind, or flock, or thy sheep, until he hath destroyed thee. Basically, they came and took everything. They told the Native Americans, hey, just teach us how to sustain during the winter. That wasn't good enough. Once they turned their back and got in good with our natives, they wanted it all. They said, man, we can have all this. And our northern kingdom was so gullible, right? They trusted this devil, these damn Spaniards, these damn Grecians, these damn Edomites, Europeans. And when they turned their back, they stabbed them right in the back and took the whole land, right? So that just goes to further show us in the Bible. Now I'm about to go show you who there is color in the Bible. Now, when it says black in the Bible, that is describing something, because all the men knew, like Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Job, these people know they was Hebrews, Israelites, right? So when they say, you see words like black, it's describing, physically and not as a nation of people. We have to get that understanding, right? We have to get that understanding. But I want to read something to further show who we are, because what do the so-called black man like to do, right? He like to smoke his weed. He like to drink, his liquor and his beer, right? And that's all in the Bible. I'm going to go to Ezekiel, right? I'm going to go to Ezekiel Ezekiel, the 8th chapter. Bear with me, Israel. The 8th chapter, the 17th verse. Right? Then he said unto me, hast thou seen this, O son of man? It is a light thing to the house of Judah. We know that Judah, if you can see the chart right here, the top tribe is Judah, so-called American blacks, Negro, African American, right? Then he said unto me, hast thou seen this, O son of man? It is a light thing to the house of Judah that they have committed the abominations which they commit here. For they have filled the land with violence, and they have returned to provoke me to anger. And lo, they put the branches under their nose. Right? You know when you roll a fat blunt, right? When I was in the world, right, I used to smoke marijuana, right? And I used to try to roll the fattest blunts. Say it look like a branch, like a little tree limb, right? So there you go, man. There's us smoking weed all in the Bible, like with the branch under your nose, smoking that weed, right? So that further goes to show you that we're in the Bible. We are the people that the Bible speaks of. The Bible is a holy Bible, means separate basic instructions before leaving earth, because we have to turn back to the law, statutes, and commandments that we broke. And also the man and the woman, and this pertaining more to the woman, right? She like to get a drink on, right? Go out with her girls and get a drink on. Let's go to Proverbs. Chapter 23. Proverbs 23. And I think chapter 21. Salakia, Israel. 21, right? Proverbs 23 and 21. The king's heart is in the hands of the Most High. Salakia, Israel. Salakia, Israel. 23. Salakia, Israel. 23 and 21. And it reads, for the drunkard and the gluttonous shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags. Right? And that's our people to a T. Right? You see some of our people out there with those signs, you know, those homeless signs, and you can see they have nothing on but rags. Look like they haven't bathed and washed in a couple days, right? And as soon as they get that money from you, you know what they're going to get, right? You can't get no hotel room or put a down payment on an apartment or go shopping, you know, with the pennies they making out there, the $5 to $6 to $7 to $10 they're making. So what they do, they go back and they just continue drinking, right? So this showing our people in the Bible. Now we're about to get to some skin color, right? Let's go to the classic Songs of Solomon, right? Let's go to the classic Songs of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5, right? Songs of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 5, Israel. And it reads, Salakia, Israel. And it reads, Songs of Solomon 1 and 5. I am black, but comely. Comely mean beautiful. O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon, look not upon me because I am black, because the sun had looked upon me. My mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyard, but my own vineyard have I not kept. And they're just going into Solomon, you know, going off, you know, with all these other wives. Because that's why Yahushua came back through the branches of David, and he was punished for Solomon's sins, because there's no account of Solomon being punished for his sins for going off messing with these other nations, these Chinese women, these Japanese women, right? There is no account for that, right? So we just read that now if the son is black, that means the father had to be black, because King Solomon is the son of King David. You heard the story of David and Goliath? So King Solomon is the son of King David, right? Let's go to Lamentations, further to show the color in the Bible, and that's us, Israel. We're in the Bible. Let's go to Lamentations, I think chapter 5, Lamentations 5, and Lamentations 5 and verse 10. Lamentations 5 and 10, Israel. Salakia, bear with me. Got my old sword. Pages falling apart. 5 and 10. Our skin was black, like an oven, because of our terrible famine. Right? Anytime you're hungry and going through famine, your skin will turn black. No matter what nation or people you are, right? Your skin will start turning to black from malnutrition, right? But he already said we were black, and our skin, will start turning more blacker, right? Because of the famine, right? Let's keep going, Israel, to show you that you're in the Bible. Let's read. Let's go to the classic Job 30 and 30. Let's go to the classic Israel, Job 30 and 30, Israel. Salakia. Job 30 and 30. And it reads, Job 30 and 30. Salakia, Israel. Job 30 and 30. And it reads, my skin is black upon me. My bones are burned with heat. Right? So there's Job again describing himself in the Bible. He said, my skin is black upon me. Furthermore, let's go to Job 23. Right? Let's go to Job 23 and 17. And it reads, because I was not cut off Salaki, Israel. Let's go to Job, what's that, 23 and 17. Because I was not cut off before the darkness, neither hath he covered the darkness of my face. Right? So let's just go to show Job was a dark-skinned man. And darkness covered his face. Right? Let's keep going. Let's go to Jeremiah. Go to the book of Jeremiah 8 and 21. This just goes to show that we're in the Bible. We are the people the Bible speaks of. From all the prophets, from all the saints, the apostles, from all the mighty men, Aaron, Moses, from all the epistles, right? We all were dark-skinned men, Latino, Native American descent, right? Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 8 and verse 21. And it reads, for the hurt of the daughters of my people am I hurt. Salakia, Israel. Let's go to Jeremiah 8. Do I want that? 8 and 21. For the hurt of the daughter of my people, I am hurt. Salakia, Israel. For the hurt of my daughter of my people, I am hurt. I am black. Astonishment has taken hold of me. Right? So there you go again, Jeremiah. Saying he's black. Right? We're going to keep this thing going. All right? In the book of Ezekiel, it gives account of the angels, who the world ignorantly call UFOs. We know those IFOs, identifying flying objects. We know they're so-called black austere men with four faces riding in those UFOs, right? Those are the chariots of the Most High. That's why our forefathers sang songs like, sweet low chariot, come and take me home, because we knew that these chariots are the angels of the Most High, and you see them prevalently here in North America because of all the wickedness that's going on, and some of the angels are doing a lot of work behind the scenes, right? I think over in North Korea one time, they were testing a missile, and they say that missile was going to get away, and the Lord came, you see the angels, and destroyed that missile, took it out, right? Stealth action, took that missile out, right? So let's read Ezekiel, right? The book of Ezekiel. Let's start in chapter 1, verse 4. Ezekiel 1 and 4, right? It gives a description of the angels, right? 1 and 4. We're going to read 4 through 5. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolded itself, and a brightening was about it, and out of the midst thereof, as a color of amber, right? Out of the midst of the fire, also out of the midst thereof, came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance, that they had likeness of man. So amber, is like a brownish, like a brownish color. Amber fire, right? But there was 4 creatures talking about the angels. Let's keep going. Let's drop down to 7. And their feet were straight feet, and their sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. Right? And we already know who else sparkled like the burnished brass in the Revelations, 1 and 13, the revealing of our Hamashiach Yahushua. Right? His feet were like, well, let's get to it. Let's go to it. Right? Let's get to it. Don't talk about it, be about it. This is the book of Revelations. Right? And we're going to start with, let's start with 1. Revelations. The revelation of Yahushua Mashiach, which the Most High gave unto him to shew us his servants things which must shortly, right, come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angels unto his servant John, right? We're going to jump down to 13. Revelations 1 and 13. And in the midst of 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with the garment down to the foot. And I'm going to just go and show you Israel, Salaki Israel, right? While I read this, just take a look at that, Israel, and let's see who this fits, right? The man on the right or the man on the left. See what the world been lying to you all this time. And in the midst of 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and a girt about the paps with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool. Now which one of these pictures look like woolly white hair? Right? As white as snow. And his eyes were like a flame of fire. Right? You see those red eyes? Not no blue-eyed heathen on the right. Right? And his feet, and his feet, because the Hamashiach had a garment on down to the foot, but they wore sandals in the ancient world, right? So if you take off your feet, Salaki, you take off your shoes right now, Israel, the top of your feet should be the same color as your other skin amongst your body, right? And his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass. Now, brass is a derivative of brown, right? Let's see how brown they were, as if they burned in a furnace. So you don't have to be a rocket science, or you don't have to know too much in this world to know if you take any substance, brown, brass, blue, green, yellow, and if you burn it in a furnace, it's only going to turn one color, and that's a dark color. So that's the revealing of Hamashiach, who the word ignorant calls this guy on the right-hand side. And we just read out the Holy Bible that he had woolly hair, red eyes, and his skin was like it burned in a furnace, Israel, right? So that just goes to show you that we're in the Bible, Israel, right? So we're going to go back, and I want to show you guys this, what Hitler said. Right? This is how World War III is going to start. This is what Deshaun Jackson had to retract. This is what Nick Cannon had to retract, right? Israel, on his deathbed, Hitler said even in his death, he would start World War III. One of his soldiers asked how. Hitler replied, the day mankind finds out what I was trying to defend this nation, Germany, the Ashkenaz, right? So-called other devils. From then, that's the day World War III would start. For on that day, mankind would learn what I was trying to save my nation from: the Freemasons, the Illuminati, the Jews, who are so-called the fake Jews he's talking about, right? For if the Americans win the war, the devils win the war, then they will conquer the world and forever be a slave to the Jews, and they will try to conquer God, meaning they'll be a slave to the Jews, Because we already know the Jewish population here in America makes up about 2% of the population, but they make up 51% of the millionaires. Just think about that. Everything is suggested. They own everything. So he can't be talking about these people. These people are not under curse to this day. These people down there own the entertainment world. They own the professional sports world. They own all the banking, right? We talk about these Brandenburg, these Rothschilds, these Rockefellers, these DuPonts, these Bushes, right? These are the people that's at the top ruling this world, and they call them Amalekites, right? The Amalek. They're the grandson of Esau, fake Jews, where the Revelations 2 and 19 speaks about. And they would try to conquer God, Salaki, and they would try to conquer God. Do you know who America had in its possession? No, the soldier replied. The Americans had the Jews of God, right? The Americans have stolen, what we just read in Deuteronomy 28 and 68, God's precious Jews. Jews, right? What do you mean, his precious Jews? The soldier asked. Hitler said, God has stolen the Jews of God, his jewelry, right? The Negroes are the true Hebrews. Look at that. The Negroes are the true Hebrews. So there you go, Israel. I'm going to end it here. You know, hope you were edified from this lesson, Israel. Once again, I'd like to get a shalom to all the faithful elect, you know, keeping the law, statutes, and commandments to your best ability, striving to be perfect as is your Father in heaven is perfect. And I'd like to say, Kwam Yasha Allah.